Hey guys, this is your host Jagriti, and I'm back on one of those storytelling podcasts. I hope you've listened to the previous few ones, and I've brought yet another really interesting story. This one is again a love story. You know, I'm a sucker for love stories, and I've been trying to find out as many love stories as I can to bring to you guys. Stories with different layers, different characters, people having different nuances to them. So last time मैंने कौन सी story करी थी अमृता प्रीतम की, right? And before that it was Anna Karina and Godard. This time, I'm going to tell you the story of Jane Birkin. So, Jane Birkin is somebody who I'm sure you must have heard of. हम सबको पता है the Birkin bag. Everybody has heard about it. At least every rich person is very conscious about having a Birkin bag. So, it originated from this woman called Jane Birkin, and I'm going to tell you the story of her. She became the it girl of 1960s in France. So, she has a very cool story, so let's just get right into it, okay? So guys, Jane Birkin is actually from England, and she was born to this family of artists. Like, her mother was extremely beautiful. She was a theatre artist. She used to perform in the theatre and everybody used to love her. She had really those classical feminine features. Like, she was literally a goddess. Her mother was so beautiful, and her father was also, he was in the Navy. So basically, she was born in a family of people who were very good looking, first of all, which the genes transferred to her. But at the same time, they were into the arts and they were open to the idea of going into the creative world at that point, which was very rare in those days. So she was born to that family, and while she was growing up, she did not have the typically feminine features. Like when she was in boarding school, she had a very hard time. Matlab, people used to say that, you know, she looks like a boy because she wasn't really developed in a way that girls usually are. The typical features, she did not get that. She used to look like very androgynous. She also had short hair. So because of that, she used to get bullied a lot as a child, and she never really believed that she was pretty. And the fact that she had a mother who was so beautiful and she was like performing everywhere and everybody was always like, oh my God, like, are you her daughter for real? And she used to be like, yeah, I am. And I'm sure that used to take a toll on her in some way. I mean, she used to laugh about it. But of course, I mean, when we're growing up, we really do care about how we're being perceived, right? And we're very impressionable. She was basically into counterculture movies, and she used to do movies that were rebellious in nature, and she was also a very rebellious 17-year-old. So when she turned 70, she also got married off to this man called John Barry, who was 13 years elder to her. And she was 17 while he was 30 years old, and that was also not a very good relationship because she wanted to be in the film industry and he was sort of very particular about, how she's dressing, if she is doing any naked scenes, stuff like that, because Jane was very conscious about her body, so she would never be naked in front of her husband with the lights on. She'd make sure the lights were off. So this was at the back of his mind. So he used to make sure that whenever she's doing a scene, basically he said she can't do a naked scene. She was just not allowed to do it. And because of that, Jane Birkin, being a 17-year-old teenager who was very rebellious, she decided ki nahi, ye to nahi chalega, I'm going to like rebel against it. And she did a scene that was naked, and that was really hurtful to her husband's ego in a way. And the relationship did not really last. It lasted for like 2-3 years. Like, most of the time she used to be crying, they used to be fighting, he did not really understand her. And, you know, she used to be like, go and sleep in the other room because he really could not deal with his emotions in a way. So ultimately, she was miserable and they broke up. Like, they got a divorce after 3 years. And she started, doing movies, and she was a huge part of the counterculture movies of UK at the time. Also, she had a very unique look because she was stick thin, and she had these fringes and this really straight hair, and she had this innocence to her face. So she was not a regular person. Like, she had very unique features, and she was someone that you would notice because of how different she looks and how innocent she is. Like, she had this aura about herself. Okay, now I'm going to tell you the part of the story where everything gets super interesting, and when I was reading it, this suddenly became my favorite part of the entire story. So now she's in London, and she finds out that there is this movie, a French movie that is going to be shot, and those people who are making the movie are in London trying to look for a girl to cast in the movie for the lead. So the movie was called Slogan, and they had come to UK to sort of like look for a girl. And all the best actresses of the time were flocking to this audition. And like Jane also got to know about it. So she also went for the audition. And at the time, she was very nervous. And because she did not know the language at all. And she saw so many beautiful women and the kind of women that she was always sort of a little insecure about, because she looked a little different from them. And she was insecure about that fact. So all of those women were like auditioning for it. And she did not really know how to, go about it. So when she was over there auditioning, she saw this one man who was very unusual looking, who did not have the general features of what you would consider a handsome man. Like, he had a very unique look to himself, a very unique aura. And he used to carry himself in a way that he really did not care about anybody. Like, he was in his own world. He would have these really callous, sarcastic remarks about everything, not in an unpleasant way, but just in a way that he really doesn't care about anything. So later on, she finds out that this man who is so captivating in a very unique way, his name is Serge Gainsbourg, and he is a French actor, and he was one of his kind, very unusual, very unique, and she didn't really like him initially when she saw him. Okay, anyway, so Jane got casted for the role, for the lead actress in this movie, and she had a conversation with Serge, who was going to be the main lead guy in the movie, and Serge was like, I did not really like you initially because I did not like the way you look or anything like that, but he really appreciates the fact that Jane did not know the words, she did not know the language of the movie, but she still gave it a shot. Like, she knew all of that textually. Like, उसने वो सब कुछ रट्टा मारा था, बस खुद से आता नहीं था कुछ भी. So वो उसको बहुत सही लगी वो चीज़ उसके बारे में. He found that to be a very courageous act, and he really admired that about her. And later on as well, when they were getting to know each other, he was getting drawn to her in ways that he did not understand how that was happening, because apparently she had always been into women that were very mysterious, that were very calm and composed and things like that. But on the contrary, Jane was somebody who was a crybaby. Like, she was very honest about how she was feeling, and she was all over the place most of the time. She was very amusing. Like, one of the reasons why she got casted was also because she was very amusing. Like, she would say quirky things and she would say what's on her mind, and that was something that was very alluring to Serge. And later on in an interview, when they spoke about it, both of them were like, we did not really like each other initially, but then Serge discovered that he is so attracted to somebody who is completely not his type, and now he's also very disgusted by the fact that he's so attracted to her. He also disliked her a lot, and the fact that she had such a huge impact on him was a reason that he fell in love with her. And he was like, oh my God, now I'm stuck. So that began the relationship that both of them shared for the next 13 years. It was a long relationship, and it was very, very beautiful. I can't wait to get into it. So post that, both of them started spending a lot of time together, and Jane automatically had fallen for him. By the way, there was a huge age gap between the two of them, and it was almost like around 16 to 18 years of age gap. Serge was much older to Jane, and Jane was smitten by him. So there was this one song that Serge had made, and it was not released. He wanted to release it. It was called Love at First Sight. This is the English name of the song. It's not the French name, because I cannot pronounce it, and any French person who watches this might not like it if I pronounce it in my accent. So it's called Love at First Sight. So basically, उसने ये गाना अपने ex के लिए लिखा था, which was Brigitte Bardot. And Brigitte Bardot was one of the most alluring and seductive actresses of those times. And before meeting Jane, he was dating her. And basically what had happened, how the song came about was he had gone on a date with Brigitte at a point, and then the date did not go really well. So to make up for the date, Brigitte was like, you have to write a song for me, and it has to be one of the best love songs ever. To that, Serge wrote a song for her, and this was a song called Love at First Sight. And he wanted to release it, but he could not release it because Brigitte had a husband who was a German businessman, and he found out about it, and he had a huge problem with it. So he made sure that the song doesn't come out, and that's when their affair also ended, and the song never got released. So now that Serge had met Jane, he wanted to release a song, and he went to ask her about, if she would want to collaborate with him, like in today's words, collaborate with him and make the song. And although Jane had never sung a song in her life, or like she did not really consider herself as somebody who can sing, she agreed to doing it because of the simple fact that she would have been so jealous of the girl who gets to do it if she doesn't do it. Like, she did not want to miss out on any opportunity of letting Serge do this with somebody else. And she was like, oh my god, what if like a blonde girl is making that song with Serge? Like, she couldn't fathom the idea. So she was like, I'm going to do it. So, okay, so like they went to this one studio one day and they recorded this song. They went to this guy, the producer of Universal, and they were like, we want to release it. Now, the very interesting thing about this song was that the song was very sexy in a way that people did not really know. People weren't as liberated as the song was, like it wasn't a bad song or it wasn't like a vulgar song, but it was just a song that was extremely sensual. It was something that people weren't very comfortable with at the time. So the producer was like, if I have to go to jail for this song, I might as well go to jail for an entire album that you guys have made. Because he was like, मेरे को ये song release करना है पर मैं ये नहीं कर सकता एक song के साथ, तब तो मैं सच में बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी. अगर तुम एक मुझे पूरा album भेजो तो maybe I can consider it. So they were like, okay, fine, we'll go and make an album. And so basically that day they were sort of celebrating at this bar in France, and there was this record player over there, and Serge just played this song which was called Love at First Sight that both of them had recorded. And when he played it, all the people who were at the bar, all the couples who were at the bar, like they just like stopped talking and they kept their forks and everything on the table, and they were like, oh my god, what is this song? And at that moment they knew that they have made something which is truly impactful and it's something that could be a hit. And they were like, we have to do whatever it takes to get this out. Ultimately it did go out. They made a couple of more songs, and like Jane was really happy to just be a part of it because she was getting to spend time with Serge, which was really, really important to her. And they were very in love at the time. So the song was released and it was banned in a lot of places. Like even the Pope banned it, BBC banned it. They were like, no, this song is like too stimulating for people to really, digest it. But although it was banned in a lot of places, very soon the song started, going up in the charts, and they were just both, Jane and Serge were like, oh my god, what have we created? Like it's creating sort of like a revolution. Like it was almost like liberating people in a way, and everyone seemed to love it, and a lot of people resonated with it, and so they realized it was also like a validation of their art in a way. After that, the relationship started doing really well. They were always together, and it was also in a way that Serge used to bring out a side to Jane that she herself did not know. Serge used to make her really feel attractive, which she did not feel as she was growing up, right? And she also revealed in an interview that she left England and came to France because over there her mother was supposedly one of the most beautiful women, and she felt that she can never match up to that. And her father also had a huge influence in UK, and to be doing stuff like this with Serge or like the kind of movie she wanted to do, it was very hard for her to fully express herself in UK. So she felt that moving to France was her best bet. And she also said that she feels that somewhere all of us are running from something, and that's something that she was running from, and then she came to France and created this. What are you running from? Let me know. Anyway, so moving on, Serge really brought out a side to her that made her feel really sexy and very seen for who she is, because she was very insecure about her body. Like she did not have the typical curves that women have, and she used to feel that nobody is going to really like her for that. But Serge assured her that the way she is beautiful, and like it shows in her photo shoots, the kind of photo shoots she did. She was really exploring her, sensual side, and it was something that Serge really brought out of her. And in an interview, she also said that when a man loves you the right way, a woman will blossom into something that is unimaginable, and that is something that she was feeling with him. They also had a kid together, and he was a great father and everything was great. But about 13 years later, he started drinking a lot. When the 1980s emerged, he started drinking a lot, and they started getting into a lot of issues because of that. Both of them used to say whatever came to their mind to each other when, they were in public. But then they were also very early to reconcile things, like they would have like fights, but like for a small period of time, but also very public fights. So that was also very unique about them. Now, in 1980s, Serge's drinking problem started getting to him, like he was most of the times drinking and he was in his own world, and sometimes he would lose touch with reality. And whenever he would call Jane, she would always find him drinking. And that was one of the reasons why they ended up breaking up and the affair had to end. After that, Jane had another lover who she got married to, and she also had a kid with that guy. His name was Jack. And she was very happy with Jack. She was in very good terms with Serge during that time. Serge used to still write love songs for her, although they were friends. And he was a very good father to Jane's kids. And it was a very good situation. So when she had a child with a new lover, Serge made sure to send baby clothes to her and, make sure that she knows that Serge is always there for her and is there with her in good spirits. Now, a couple of years after that, Serge was in his apartment, sitting in his room when he got a heart attack and he passed away. And till the time of his death, he was still writing songs, love songs for Jane, and he was sending her letters and, just being there for her in whatever way that he could. And as soon as Jane found out, Jane and her entire family, the girls, her kids, they weren't able to deal with this news at all. For about 3 days, they were sitting with Serge and his body, and they were just not willing to let go. They were just so attached to it, and it felt like they just could not let go of him. Ultimately, they had to accept what has happened, but this news was extremely hard on Jane, and she was not able to let go of Serge in her memories. She was really holding on to it, and his death had taken a huge toll on her. And because of how much she wasn't able to let go of Serge, her current lover, who she had a child with, left her because he was like, oh my God, you're so in love with that man. I will never amount to anything to you. Or basically, for whatever reason, just because she wasn't able to get over the fact that Serge wasn't there anymore and her grief was completely consuming her, her current lover left her and her child. So guys, this was the story of Jane Birkin and Serge. They were one of the coolest kids of 1960s. They created a lot of art together. And I think it is one of those stories when you know that when a man truly loves a woman, how much he can make her life beautiful, how much he can impact her in the best of ways, how the good parts about the woman really blossom in a way, and how people, a man and a woman, can create so much art if they truly respect each other for who they are, if they swear to be friends first. Because I'm pretty sure that in this relationship, they were more friends and then they were lovers, because even when Jane wasn't with Serge, she had another man and she had another wife, she still continued the friendship with Serge, and it was never bitter, it was never about ego, it was always love between them. And I think that is what love is. If I think anybody has come close to it, out of my knowledge, it has to be Jane Birkin and Serge, because their love story is a testament of what is possible and how close you can be with a person, and how you can create beautiful art with a person. This story will always be something that is very close to my heart. And the fact that people like Serge existed, men like Serge existed, it's a huge testament to how, they're out there, and not all men are, bad men for you. And there are people like that out there. You just have to look out for them, I guess. And same goes for Jane, because she also was open to everything. She had an open mind, and when both of them met, it was just like magic. So that's the story, guys. Let me know what you thought about it. And let me know if you listen to the song Love at First Sight by both of them. This is your host, Jagrati, signing off now.